Hello everyone, welcome to the show Mad in Sarthe. In this program, people talk about a few things they started in Sarthe. Why do they choose in this department and why do business in Sarthe? In less than 10 minutes, we will get to know and discover a new sector with this show Mad in Sarthe. Today, we are with Mrs. Bolden. Awa. Hello, Awa.
Hello.
And this entrepreneur decided to leave the United States to set up shop in France and more particularly in Sarthe. Her business consists of many things, such as English training, linguistic studies, etc. In parallel to her business, she also created an American association. My first question for you, can you tell us about your project?
My project is called Mrs. Bolden. You can find more information at mrsbolden.com. Yeah, so this is a training center that teaches English as well as creatively, as well as organizing linguistic stays.
Okay. Why have you chosen France and why the Sarthe department?
France was chosen by somewhat personally. So it was a personal situation that brought us into France. And while we were in France and that personal situation turned into another situation, we decided to stay. And to be able to stay in France, already with a high unemployment rate, was a very challenging place to be and for an American to be, and try to find a job. So.
And you think it's more difficult to begin in France or in American to start a business?
I think to start a business in America is much easier, but with the language barrier, I think it was much easier to start a business, English teaching business in France than it was in the U.S. So the reason for starting this business in France was to be able to teach English and have a job. So that's the reason why it was started.
Okay. What different kinds of services does your company offer?
We teach English to children, adults. We organize linguistic stays. And we also offer cooking classes in English and basically anything we can do creatively in English. We also do chambre d'hôte and from time to time table d'hôte.
Okay, very nice. How did you come up with this business idea?
The business idea was, I came up with the business idea. It's nothing new. It already exists. But what I did notice in France was that the French are very smart and very knowledgeable, when it comes to the English language. So grammar, I think there's no problem. L'éducation nationale teaches them very well. So the grammar is well covered, but when it comes to conversation, that's where it's lacking. So they need to speak more. So the idea was to, like it says on my website, practice makes perfect. That's my slogan. So the idea of practicing English, being able to speak English while doing creative stuff can go a long way. So the idea was to do that in the most creative way, fun way possible to entice people to want to speak.
Why do you think there is this problem in France?
I think there's a lack of situations that people could find themselves in when it comes to using the English language. So I think it's schools and workspaces. I think they need to set up situations where people can actually use what they learn in school. So I think what's happening, in schools, children are taught the language, and after school they're left hanging. So unless your parents have a lot of money to send you to an English-speaking country or put you in an English-speaking setting, so if your parents do not have a lot of money to do that, well, you never actually get to practice what you learn. Yeah.
Okay. Where do your customers come from?
My customers are primarily, I would say, well, I wouldn't say local customers because we are in a little village. So about 5% or so of my business comes locally. About a good, I'll say, 20 to 30% come from neighboring villages and in Le Mans, and the rest come from Paris. Yeah, so the rest come from Paris. So I will say most of my business comes from Paris.
Have you got a website?
Yes, I do. So mrsbolden.com.
Okay. What are your photo projects?
Future projects. So I want to find myself doing more activities in regards to learning English creatively. So right now I'm in the process of setting up and redoing my kitchen. So I'll be able to set up more cooking classes in English in my kitchen. And this time I would like to focus more on gluten-free cooking because myself being a person with celiac disease. So celiac disease is an allergy or intolerance to gluten. So, and there is much support when it comes to the gluten-free population. So my idea is once my kitchen is set up to be able to teach English while cooking and cooking gluten-free. Okay. Yeah, to be able to support that population.
Very nice.
Thank you.
What quality do you think a good entrepreneur should have?
That's a tough question. A good entrepreneur must have tenacity. Yeah, so you absolutely have to be tenacious because you have to be patient and you have to be willing to work morning, noon, and night without ever seeing one penny, one dime. Because sometimes a good entrepreneur must never give up. You try, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the thing is, if you keep doing it and keep paying attention to what you are doing and paying attention to the feedback that you get from other people, I think that's the most important thing, to be able to pay attention, to listen to what people are telling you that you are doing right and not doing right. I think once you're able to pay attention to it and be patient, you know, because a typical business, typical entrepreneur needs, I would say, a minimum of 3 years to be able to kind of know if an idea is going to work out or not, and to be able to work out bugs when it comes to like a new business.
Many work with the business plans.
Yeah, so you have your business plan, so that is an absolute must to have a business plan, because we can't just wing it, like say, oh, well, if I do this, it'll work. You absolutely need to have a business plan and follow that business plan and be able to update it once in a while. Because it's important to have the business plan, but be able to update it, change things whenever it's necessary. Yeah, so I think a good business plan, a good support network, you know, because an entrepreneur is always networking. So every opportunity to network is a good one. Yeah. And the best way to be able to network is for example, to find yourself in a association setting. So if you can get yourself in a situation where you can create an association and be able to network through an association while giving back to your community, I think that's a very good thing.
Okay. Tell me about your association and how many members do you have?
Okay, so the association is called French American Center of Tuffet, so FACT. So our slogan for the association is FACT, c'est un fait. So, yeah, so FACT means fait in French. So it's a little word game. So the association was created in parallel to my company, because I have had many requests for cultural exchanges. So one, to be able to meet that demand of cultural exchanges, because I do linguistic stays, but the linguistic stays are for people, French people, wanting to practice their English in France, but for French people who want to go to the U.S. and do, exchanges. That's why the association was created. So one, it allows French kids especially to be able to go, across the ocean to meet their other peers and be able to exchange with them. So, which is very important. The other second part of the association was to be able to really share the American culture with the French kids, the French people, because the American culture is, in my opinion, a culture based on giving and taking. And we want to make sure that the two sides, because the American idea that most people have is is a huge thing, like they take. It's like business as usual all the time. But there's a very important part of the American culture that's about giving of your time. You absolutely, positively must give back to your community, because if you take, you must give out. Yeah, and because like they said in French, c'est l'équilibre. Because if you take, and you're not giving out, there is an exchange. You do not have any exchange at all. So to be able to make sure that we take care of, one, the cultural exchange, two, the networking that needs to happen when we are in business, and be able to open communication, between, people and other associations and stuff. It's much easier to deal with all of that with an association, not with a person. Yeah, and three, to be able to share a culture. Yeah, so cultural sharing is very important. See how other people do things. Yeah, sometimes it helps us to get to know those other people better. Yeah, why do they behave a certain way? Because there's always a reason why.
Okay, nice. Thank you very much for your time, Awa. This interview made in Sarthe was with Mrs. Bolden of MrBolden.com. Thank you to your listen to you. And until next time, thank you, Awa.
You're welcome. My pleasure.